It's best to use the right tool for the right job. Sometimes you need a general purpose tool, like a Leatherman. Other times, you need a screwdriver with a blade and a tip that's just right in order to get the job done. Hi, I'm Kip Meekum with Card Access, and I'm going to show you the first two new sensors in the Card Access wireless contact sensor family of products. They are the recessed micro door and window contact sensor and the micro door window contact sensor. We're showing you these two contact sensors first because they'll spark your creativity. Once you see how to install and use them, you'll immediately think of great ways to put these sensors all over your projects. So, let's get started. This is the GE recessed micro door and window sensor. This contact sensor is my favorite because when you're finished installing it, your customers won't even know it's there. It's literally invisible. You'll use a drill with a level bubble and some spade bits to install it. And I'll show you how to do that in just a few minutes. This is the GE micro window and door sensor. It's like a miniature single contact version of our Card Access wireless contact sensor. You can install it into cabinet drawers or desk drawers or refrigerators with just a small adhesive pad that you place on the back of the sensor, and it comes along with that in the package. Used with DriverWorks drivers developed by Card Access, these GE wireless sensors are compatible with the Card Access sensor bridge. To install the GE wireless sensors, perform the following simple steps. Step 1. Download the drivers from the Card Access website and install them. First, get all the DriverWorks drivers for the Card Access sensor bridge and GE wireless sensors from the Card Access website. Just go to www.cardaccess- like a minus sign, inc.com/automation/drivers. The drivers work on either Embernet or Zigbee Pro versions of Control4, so you don't have to worry about grabbing a particular file. Second, copy all of the drivers to the My Documents/Control4/drivers folder. That's it. Now you're ready to install the GE wireless sensors. You'll perform the same basic steps to install each of the GE wireless sensors that we support into the project. First, get the right DriverWorks drivers for each of the sensors that you'll install and place them into the room where you're actually going to install the sensor. Second, go to the system design and select the drivers that you've installed in the room. Third, from the Properties window, select the Actions tab and click on the Identify Sensor button. Fourth, go to the Properties tab to view the state of the sensor TX-ID field. Use the GE prescribed method for identifying the sensor, and the TX-ID will appear in the TX-ID field. And this is optional, but it's helpful. Give the sensor a logical name like Furnace Room Smoke Detector. This is useful when you want to know which wireless sensor sent the most recent transmission to the sensor bridge. This sensor name is displayed along with the sensor ID in the sensor bridge status. Add the proxy that you will use for the sensor. Finally, bind the sensor to its proxy and start programming your events. Things like turning on lights when a door is opened, playing an announcement when the game console cabinet is opened, and so forth are just a few ideas. Next, we'll install a GE recessed micro door window sensor. I told you I think this sensor is great because once it's installed, it's invisible. But first, we want to make sure that we've got the right tools to install it correctly. You're going to need a power drill. And it's a really good idea to get one that has those bubble levels in it so that you can drill holes that are straight. You're also going to need a flathead screwdriver. Get one with a good sized head. and 2 spade bits. One that's 3/4 of an inch and one that's 5/8. Now, let's identify the sensor. We're going to do this by using the flathead screwdriver. I'm going to place it into the top of the sensor and slowly turn it counterclockwise, like this. We do that, and the TXID is going to appear in the TXID field on the driver's property page in Composer. Let's test the sensor by lining it up with the magnet and the contact sensor for a moment or two. In Composer, you'll see the sensor contact state turned to closed, and the sensor status should be online. Drill your holes for the mounting sensor. The first time I installed one of these in a doorway, I was a little nervous because the holes in the wood are a bit on the permanent side. But it's not hard. With a little attention to detail, you can get it done, and I'm going to show you how. GE recommends the sensor part of the assembly be placed inside the door and window frame to improve sensor performance and battery life. If you're hesitant to make holes in finished carpentry like this, let me put your mind at ease. So you know what to watch for. We're going to install this recessed micro sensor into this model doorway that I've installed here, and we'll put the whole assembly together. Most doors and windows are built into walls with a header made of 2 boards that are stacked behind the door frame like this. So to figure out where to drill, you're just going to close the door and measure and mark a location in the door and in the frame header. And then you'll open the door and drill the holes into the door and into the door frame. For the door hole, where you put the magnet, you're going to drill a 5/8 inch diameter hole about 3/4 of an inch deep. And I've marked this spade bit up in red so that I can visually control the hole depth. The thing that's key again is just to remember to use those bubble levels on your drill so that you get a level hole for the magnet. I don't have a studio door to drill into, so I figure you can do that yourself with the way that you need to line up the measurements per the instructions. For the hole in the door frame, GE recommends you do a countersink mounting. And to do this, we'll drill a hole into this model door frame, and we're going to make a 1/8 inch deep starter hole in the door frame with this 3/4 inch spade bit. Again, I've marked it up in red so that I can easily control the depth. I'm going to get onto my hole, onto the dot, and drill the hole. Next, I'll finish the hole by drilling with this 5/8 inch spade bit until the complete hole depth measures 3 3/4 inches in length. And yeah, that's what this other red mark is on the spade bit. So here we go. To finish the installation, we'll place the sensor and the magnet into the holes that we've drilled for them. You just push them right in. Test with the magnet. We get a good smooth glide on that. And we're set. It's really worth the time to read the instructions that come with the recessed sensor if you're installing one for the first time. Let's install a GE micro door window sensor. This is the easiest sensor to install, but it's the hardest one to identify. But don't worry, you can still get it done easily. First, GE's instructions tell you to take the cover off the contact sensor and remove the battery halfway, and then push it back in place to identify it. I don't like doing it this way because I'm a klutz and I worry about breaking the sensor plastics. So what I do is I just type the sensor ID in and set it manually. If you're not a klutz, you can use the ID feature in the driver. But it's also a very good idea to write down the TXID on the back of the contact sensor, because once you cover it with that adhesive strip, you won't be able to read it from the label if you're going to install them manually like I do. Second, just line up the magnet with the contact sensor for a second or two using those arrows in the plastics. In Composer, you'll see the sensor contact state turn to closed, and the sensor status should be online. Third, mount the sensor into place using the adhesive strips that are included with the sensors. Make sure you line up the arrows on the contact sensor and on the magnet before you stick them into place. This concludes training video number 2 on the new Card Access recessed micro door window contact sensor and micro door window contact sensor. We recommend you next view any of the following training videos for the wireless panic pendant, the wireless smoke detector, and the wireless carbon monoxide detector.